Has your health been covered up? Today, it's Revealing Wholeness with Dr. Troy Munson, presented to you by Infinity Whole Health.
Hello and welcome. I'm Dr. Troy Munson on Revealing Wholeness. Today we're going to talk about our third podcast on weight loss and things that you should not do. And there's a lot of despair when it comes to losing weight because we're told things that are kind of an outside-in thinking rather than an inside-out thinking. Outside-in thinking is kind of backwards, and inside-out thinking is more at the core of things. And when we see that somebody is overweight and they feel like they can't do anything, they go after a surgery or they think it's genetic or something like that. And so this podcast, we're going to talk about surgeries and genes and how those things actually affect weight. So there's lap bands out there. There's stomach stapling. There's bypass surgeries. There's a lot of things going on in the weight loss industry. And it's like a 7-8 billion, or like I've even read statistics as high as $66 billion industry. It is huge, and there's a lot of money, and there's a lot of things out there they're not going to tell you. And as really a wellness provider and somebody who sees these things all the time, I see nothing but problems with these surgeries to try and lose weight. Do they lose weight? Yes, they do. But the complications are unpleasant. And so 15% of the time, they're going to have obvious complications with surgeries for weight loss. Things like recurring bleeding, internal bleeding, non-healing, infections, all kinds of things. The rest of those folks that get these surgeries, the 85% that they say are successful, I don't call these very successful cases when their complications are quite insidious. They're very covert, and they're literally starving to death because they cannot eat enough food. And they haven't changed their food choices, many of them, and so they're literally dying from the inside out, and they don't even know it. And so they can't eat enough nutrients. Many of them realize this, that they're feeling more and more sick. Their eyes look sunken. Their cheeks are hollow. They have obvious malnutrition symptoms. And yet, they're losing weight though. That's great. But that's not a great place to be. That's actually a really, really hard place to be. And so we start breaking down our own body and we start eating ourselves. And that's really unacceptable. And so we get very, very careful on high density nutrition for those kinds of folks that have already gone through those types of surgeries, especially the permanent ones where they staple the stomach and they cut it off and it's done. I think over time it might be able to grow a little bit and expand, but it's pretty slow and pretty difficult. So if you're considering one of these, I would urge you to be out of the box thinking on that surgery and either trying to find a surgeon that will do it differently or do it not so radically, or just simply don't do it altogether and try something that maybe is a bit more effective. And so on March 20th of this month, 2019, at Total Wine on South Hill here in the Puyallup Graham area, I'm going to do a workshop that's going to explain why do most of these things not work and what can we do instead. And how does the body work, and how does weight loss work as a condition that we've got to find the cause to? And so I'm going to be very cause-orientated when it comes to that workshop. We're going to really expand the mind on many different levels because we tend to approach things from 3 different venues, and so you're going to get all that there. And I'm really excited about doing that. Last thing I want to talk about is genes. I have people blame their genes for everything. And many years ago, we heard genes were the cause of everything. And then they said, well, it's actually like 10% of all conditions are genetic related. And then it was 5%, and then it was 3%. And now it's less than 2% of all conditions are genetically related. And I think it's going to go down even lower than that because we know that the expression of your genes have all kinds of ability to protect you from environmental things. It is all how you perceive and interact with your environment. And how does your body interact with your environment? Through your nervous system. It is why anytime that we're working on the nervous system, and as a chiropractor, we do that beautifully. But I don't care what you're doing, as long as you're doing something like acupuncture or massage or body awareness or whatever you're doing. Multiple of those is all excellent to do to get that expression of your genes to be better and better, because it's all dependent on how you perceive your environment and how you react with it. And so the last 3 podcasts we've done, the first one was on calorie counting. And we talked about dieting and obesity. It makes us more obese. And this one is on surgeries and genes. And so know that these things have all been done over and over and over. And if they worked, we wouldn't be talking about this right now. They don't typically work. And of these things, they don't really take into account why we are still overweight. And I plan to talk about that why on March 20th. And so until then, I hope to see you there if you want. We have information right after this that's going to tell you how to call in and RSVP. And I'd so look forward to seeing you there and changing some lives. So until then, I'm Dr. Troy Munson on Revealing Wholeness.
This concludes another episode of Revealing Wholeness with Dr. Troy Munson. If you have any questions concerning this podcast or others, you can reach Dr. Munson by email at chiroman, that's CHIRO man, at dr.com. Or you can call him at his office during office operation hours at 360-893-8586. This show is sponsored by Infinity Whole Health on the Disruptors Podcast Network.
The information on this podcast from Dr. Troy Munson is meant to educate the listener on a variety of health issues. It is not meant to diagnose or treat any conditions.